What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Reek Knows Hoops. I'm your host, Tyreek. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. This is a channel where we talk about NBA basketball. So if you love hoops, this is the place for you. And I've been referencing, I'm going to make a Trailblazer video for like the past week or so. And my friend been bothering me about it. He's been saying he needs the Trailblazer video. So I'm finally here to talk about the Portland Trailblazers. They have been winning lately, but I still think that, change is going to be coming in that organization this offseason, no matter what they do in the postseason. So I'm here to talk about it. We know Portland they've had some success with Damian Lillard, with CJ McCollum, and, Terry Stotts is their head coach. But it seems like I think this team has reached its peak, and I don't see that changing this postseason. They have been playing better lately since Dame has gotten healthy, but still, this team really can't defend anybody, which is something that has been an issue for them the last couple of seasons. Couple off seasons ago, they lost both Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless. And if you guys remembered, when they made it to the conference finals that 2019 season, those two were a big reason because of that, because of the defensive versatility. Like Mo Harkless was guarding point guards in the postseason. He was guarding Westbrook. He was guarding Jamal Murray. And Al-Farouq Aminu was really, guarding, not only wing players, but he's guarding big men too. Like, he was doing a lot. Both of those players were doing a lot for the Trailblazers at that time. And they lost both of those guys in that offseason. And you could tell last season, the 2020 season, this team, they couldn't stop anybody. And if Dame wasn't, deep in his bag every single game, they were losing. And honestly, that's probably the only reason why Terry Stotts didn't get fired last season. Because I remember they were talking about firing Terry Stotts even after they made the conference finals. But Damian Lillard backed up his coach. He's like, I really like Terry Stotts. And if your star player says that, you definitely want to keep him happy, especially when you're not a big market team. You want to keep your star player happy. And he's made it clear that he wants to stay in Portland as long as possible. But that's really the main reason why Terry Stotts has his job, is because Dame loves him. And Dame has saved his job, because last season, Dame had to go Superman to get this team into the postseason. And quite frankly, he's been doing it again this year too. Early on in the season, I know this team has dealt with a lot of injuries, but, CJ was out a big portion of the time, so was Nurkic. But Dame was really putting up big-time games early on in the season. That's why this team was playing so good. And that's what I'm really figuring out about this team. If Dame isn't having those big nights, they're not a good basketball team. They're really not that good of a basketball team. And the main reason is because they just can't defend. They really can't defend. And I just think that this team has reached its peak. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion at all. I think this team has reached its peak. And the fact that they've had so much success with the undersized backcourt that struggles on the defensive end. Nurkic is not like a great defender. He's an okay defender. I really thought Covington and Derrick Jones Jr. would be big-time additions. I thought that's why I'm personally kind of disappointed in this team. I know they dealt with injuries, but I thought that they would be able to get back to that brand of basketball, having those versatile defensive wings. And it just hasn't worked. I mean, they just really can't defend this season. And I think a lot of that has to go to, coaching. I really think the philosophy in Portland is just kind of, stale now. I remember a game earlier this season. It was a random game that I was watching. And if you're familiar with the Trailblazers, they run a lot of flare screen actions under Terry Stotts. And I was just watching them run it. I'm like, bro, they've been doing this for 7 years. It seems they've been doing this for a long time, and it looks so stale. And then Dame just had to bail them out like always. Yeah, I referenced the BR article that I saw yesterday. I referenced that in my video from last night, and they're basically saying Terry Stotts is going to be gone in the offseason. So yeah, change is going to be on the way in Portland, but I don't think it'll stop there. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the front office says okay, we got a new coach, so let's just run it back with this roster. Maybe a new coach will light a fire under these guys. But I still think there's a cap on this team, and they're gonna have to make a decision on some guys. And one of their most valuable young assets that they had was Gary Trent Jr., and they traded him for Norman Powell. Powell is a great player, a really good scorer, but he's a free agent in the offseason, so you could potentially lose him for for nothing. And that's something that it was a very odd decision that the front office decided to make. And, this team is just, they're in a very weird spot. That's what I want to say. And it might have to be breaking up this backcourt. And if your goal is to build a winning team around Damian Lillard, you would probably have to trade CJ McCollum. And I'm not saying that to throw shade on CJ, because CJ is one of my favorite players in the league. I love CJ McCollum. In fact, hold up 1 second. Like, I got 2 CJ McCollum shirts. I have another one, like the black and red one from a couple years ago. I'm a big fan of CJ, but he's the only player that has that much value outside of Dame. I don't think Nurkic would get you enough back to where like you would consider yourself a contender. But I think you could probably trade CJ, package him with like maybe Nas Little or Anthony Simons. Those guys probably still have some intrigues and maybe some teams around the league. We probably have to package them to try and get like a really good wing player. I think that would probably be more perfect with Dame, like a very elite wing player that can defend really well. But CJ would probably have to be the trade piece, which is, I don't know how Trailblazers fans feel about that, because I've seen a lot this season. I thought he was beloved in Portland, but apparently fans are very split on him. Like, one side really loves CJ, the other side can't stand him. Like, it's odd. But if this team wants to get better, they would probably have to break up that backcourt. Because I would love to see them stay together, but I just don't think that they have the pieces to bring anybody else in. They're kind of, not doing good with the cap situation and stuff. So, that they would probably just have to make that tough decision. And, it's better to make it now while CJ still has some good years ahead of him, instead of waiting until he's like 31, 32 and then trying to move him or something like that. So, yeah, Portland has a lot that they have to get right. There's still this season left. But from what I've seen from this team, the fact that they can't defend, like they're one of the worst defensive teams in the league, I don't see them having that much success in the postseason, because those are habits that you can't just break, once the playoffs start. Like, those are built habits. You're not a good defensive team. Those stick for sure. And I don't know. I'm just like very disappointed in this team, because I thought that they could be in a position like, maybe not like top of the West like Utah and Phoenix have been, but I think they could be like a slight tier below them. Like, that's what I thought coming into the season. I love the additions of Covington and Derrick Jones Jr., but it hasn't worked out. And I don't know. It seems like coaching is probably the first thing to point at, because the talent is there on this team. The talent is there for sure. They have dealt with injuries, but they weren't playing great when CJ was hurt. But they were able to win games because Damian Lillard is that good, especially in close game situations. They were winning a lot of close games, but you can't tell me like if CJ was healthy that this team, they would probably be a notch better than what they are, but still defensively, that doesn't solve their problems that they've been having. So, you might have to look at coaching, but I don't know. A lot of interesting decisions have been made. I still can't grasp trading Gary Trent Jr. I understand he's going to be a restricted free agent this offseason, but you traded him to get back Norman Powell, who's also going to be your free agent. Because I don't see him accepting that player option, because he's well underpaid right now. So, very interesting decisions. And also, back to Terry Stotts. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but back to Terry Stotts. He has just made some like interesting decisions, like with rotations and stuff. Like, early on, Gary Trent was getting 0 minutes. Like, he wasn't playing. Like, he was having DNP games. And then you see when he's been on the court, he's been amazing. He's been amazing in Toronto, but he was playing very well in CJ's absence. But I don't know. Like, if Terry Stotts still is coaching in Portland next season, I'd be very surprised. But this team definitely needs a little bit of a shakeup. We'll see what they do in the postseason. I don't really have high hopes. Personally, I don't have high hopes, but Dame is that good that he can go crazy for a series and they could win that series. We've seen that happen. We've seen that happen a couple years ago against OKC. He went crazy for that series and pretty much won that series, offensively on his own. Like, that's how good Dame can be. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, though, because I think Portland could be the team in the offseason that has the most shakeup, for sure. I think a lot of changes can be coming, starting with their coaching staff and maybe in their backcourt, try and add an elite level wing player, all-star level wing player. And I don't know. We'll see what happens with them because, Dame said he wants to be there. So the goal is to build a winning team around Damian Lillard. Something has to change in Portland for sure. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll be back next time, y'all. Peace.